Greetings. Welcome back to another fantastic episode of the Death, Taxes, and Sports Podcast, episode 139. We are officially back after a 2-week period, a little time off, had to recharge the batteries and, get ready for the football season. Some of us actually have hope for the season, unlike some others, unlike me, my Broncos. We'll probably go 0-17. But here with my esteemed Johnson & Wales alum, Mr. Ben Holloway, and we have a special guest, Mr. Drew Hill of Seattle, Washington, old friend of mine from back days in Seattle. We used to chop it up. He thinks we've had some very fun, spirited conversations. But gentlemen, how are you guys doing today?
Blessed, man. Blessed and appreciative. Happy to be here.
No doubt. Mr. Ben Holloway, you've been the world traveler, sir. How have you been? You're back from your ever so wonderful flight in Mexico.
We're gonna leave that alone. I'm doing good, and let's proceed from there.
All right. So tonight we're going to be discussing U.S. men's basketball, fantasy football, all that fun stuff, NFL storylines, and as well as the British Open. Man, gentlemen, this U.S. men's basketball team, there has been a lot of concerns. Some of their games have been a little bit sloppy. You put a whole bunch of players together, you're going to have some growing pains, but what are some of our biggest concerns? And out of respect, Drew, I'm going to toss it to you, sir. What were kind of some things that kind of stood out for you?
What to do with Joel Embiid? Joel Embiid, obviously extremely talented, and I think the understanding of him just kind of coming in and the international game is different than the NBA game. So that's one thing that he's going to have to work through, and also they have to break out of the mode of isolation, right? So they can't, whoever is bringing the ball across the court shouldn't be the one that's always going and taking a shot. So they have to figure out, moving the ball around, trusting each other. I think they'll be fine ultimately. I think once they add in a Kevin Durant, to that mix with he and Steph Curry, with the 3-point line being a little further in than the NBA, I think ultimately they'll be fine. But they do have some things. They have to want it. They have to understand the magnitude of the moment. There are people who are out there who are playing for their countries, literally, this game is super important to them. That's where you have guys like the Patty Mills, who's completely different than Patty Mills in the NBA, and Thanasis, all these different players. The South Sudan team, these are people who they have some players, but what their participation in these Olympics represents, the United States, they have to match that energy.
Hey, facts. So eloquently put there, sir. That ISO ball, Ben, that ISO ball is definitely a very interesting fact, because when I look at one individual, I look at Anthony Edwards when he's bringing the ball up, the man doesn't pass too much. He likes to dribble, takes about 5-6 seconds in the shot clock, and then wait too long within the shot clock to be able to make some passes. But for me, Ben, it's the double-digit turnovers. Every single game that they've played, they've had at least 10 turnovers. This last game for Germany was a little bit concerning, because when you look at the numbers, Germany, I think 65% of their shot attempts, meaning 43 attempts, made 65% of their shot attempts were three-pointers versus 25% for the Team USA. So for me, it's the lack of ability to create enough passing lanes, them getting outshot from three. When you're looking at guys like LeBron, KD, maybe some others, they don't necessarily shoot threes in volume. So those some things kind of step out to me. But Ben, your thoughts?
Yeah, turnovers is definitely was on my list as well. I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with, as we'll see in the Olympics as well, these teams, most of them have been playing together 10, 15 years. They know each other. The chemistry is there. They can play with their eyes closed, essentially. They know where they're going to be. For the U.S., it's a collection of stars like it always is, but that chemistry just isn't the same, and it can't be. Now, what have they relied on? Star power outweighs chemistry. When it comes down to it, we're better than you. Our players are better than you. And will that prove to be true again? Most likely. But these teams, most of these countries have really, really good chemistry. In the U.S., I mean, this specific team's been together in camp and the games probably 5-6 weeks. That's about it. So that's a concern, although a lesser concern. But I think that they need to figure out, stop overpassing. Make the right play and shoot the ball. If you're open, shoot the ball. We see it all the time in the All-Star games. Besides that they score 200 points all the time. But it's overpassing. Almost every turnover in the All-Star game is too many passes, not taking open shots. That's what it seems like the U.S. is doing. If you're open, just take it. at the end of the day, like I think that they're overthinking it, and the turnovers are, for the most part, I would say unforced. So I think they'll be fine, but there are definitely some things that stand out.
Yeah, and Drew, the footprint, what made, this is like the perfect culmination of like LeBron James's like passing of the torch, so to speak. But you remember back in 2004, it kind of reminds me of 2004, but not necessarily to the extreme when they lost to Puerto Rico in an exhibition game. I think of the fact that what made them successful was that they all had to have a 3-year commitment to Team USA, right? Because what that allowed them to do was be able to build a little bit of continuity. LeBron James and Steph Curry have never played together. So you can see it on the court where, okay, how do you like to receive a pass? Do you like to receive a bounce pass? It's like those simple things, but come on in.
Yeah, that's just the continuity and understanding how, even though you might watch, obviously LeBron, student of the game, he knows how to defend, some players. He knows how to scheme against teams and things like that. But actually playing with someone, I'm the same way. Not to compare myself to LeBron, but when I play, it's like, okay, the first thing I do when if I'm playing pickup ball, I go to each person on my team, like, tell me about, like, how do you like to play? Like, what do you like? Where do you like your passes? Are you a slasher? Are you a shooter? What do you like to do? So I can understand, how we're going to work and play together. Obviously, that's on the coaching to get it together, and the guys have to understand. I mean, obviously, they haven't played in a super competitive, with these kind of stakes on the lines. But these guys do play together. They have played together over the years. Again, it's just finding the right mix. And Ben, to your point, as far as the passing, I feel like you said, it's, you don't want to be out there dominating the ball, but you also need to take a shot when you have it. I feel like if they move, if they don't get stagnant, if they just move around when they don't have the ball, just move around on the court. If when you get the ball, if you're open, take a shot. I feel like they have the good enough shooters, good enough rebounders, to play that way. So yeah, they just have to, find that balance of, I don't want to be selfish, but I also don't want to just make the extra pass just for the sake of making a pass.
No doubt. And Ben, one of the things that we forget about is they can have 43 shot attempts in a 40-minute game, not a 48-minute game, but a 40-minute game. So, it's the lack of running back on defense. It's the simple things, not running back on defense after turning the ball over, letting a team like Germany, which is good at shooting threes, shoot for 65% of their shot attempts on three, dude. But, I think it's going to go to bigger question. I don't think KD should play. I think they should have had another plan, because that calf injury, you think about it, Ben, the calf injury, you're thinking about that Achilles tear, and now he's 5 years older.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I slightly surprised that he's still going to play after not playing at all, given, his history with calf injuries and what it led to back then. But I was going to say that for the U.S., it's almost like, to me, yes, you have to run plays, you have to call plays, but at a certain point, I almost feel like just do pick and roll till you get the mismatch, because you will always be able to find the mismatch. You will always have an advantage. If you hunt the mismatches, you will always have that advantage. So yes, you need to call plays, but to me, it's almost like dumb it down. Just like get the mismatches that you can get. Like, they can get it every single possession if they want. And if they do, they create a lot of advantages where they will win. So I think dumb it down. Like, use your advantages. They can get an advantage on every single possession if they want to.
Facts. But before we move on, any other final thoughts, Mr. Hill, before we move on to the next topic?
If it was me, I'm gonna. I feel like Steph is an advantage that they have. I'm going to ride that advantage until they figure some way. I'm down screens, I'm pin downs, I'm run Steph around and let him shoot. LeBron can control the ball, pass the ball to Steph, let Steph shoot. Bigs rebound. There's no reason that Embiid and Anthony, unless it's pick and roll, coming up doing a high post. I don't need you dancing around the 3-point line. I need you down there, rebound for the shooters, because I feel like just having Steph, and even if, like, 60% KD, if he can just be big and shoot, like, just do that couple plays, I think they'll be fine. I think they'll turn it up when they need to turn it up, and I think they have the ability to do that.
Yeah, and I think, gentlemen, what it all shows, and to our listeners, it just shows the quality of Team USA. I think no longer are the days of them blowing out teams by 20, 25 points, even if they don't have NBA players. A lot of these guys have played in Spain, they played in China, they played in some pretty competitive leagues. And a lot of them played professionally starting at like 15, 16 years old. So the fear factor Team USA, it's not going to happen anymore. But all right, let's move to the next topic. Ben, I know we're going to talk about our favorite guy that won his second major, shot a 65, I think, in the last round. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to say his name because I always butcher his name. But I'm going to let you run with it, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I figured, I know we don't talk golf much, but one of the 4 major championships, we should at least talk about it for a bit. Xander Schauffele, unbelievable, 65 on Sunday, which just want a quick shout out to him. The first ever since 1934 to have a 65 or lower in multiple final rounds in majors in the same year. PGA Championship, 65 win. British Open, 65 win. So that's insane. And it was top 8 in all 4 majors. So top 10 in every major, top 8 even. Like, just an incredible season. I mean, he got the gold medal a couple of years ago, trying to defend that. And yeah, I just wanted to make sure that we show him some love, give the props that he deserves. And specific to Sunday, in a 6-hole stretch on the back 9, he had 4 birdies. Right. And that basically put it down. Also, Rory McIlroy. What's going on, dog? What's really going on? I'm telling you, how that U.S. Open ended, I walked away from that. He's never going to win another major. And I get it. He's a lot better. He's a lot better than he played this week. But I don't know. I feel like that was a fantastic opportunity, and he didn't get it done, and it was horrible this week. But yeah, Schauffele, give him his flowers. He was amazing on Sunday and this year as well.
Thanks, Drew. Do you play golf, Drew? You're on mute, sir.
I do not. I recognize it as a thing. It is a sport. I've gone out. Like, I used to go to driving range a lot.
Okay.
And I've done some like par 3 courses. I've done a couple best ball scrambles on the big boy courses, which were a lot of fun. I did enjoy it, but I'm not a regular golfer. When I moved to Seattle, actually, someone told me, oh yeah, it's great because you can golf year round. I said that is not the case. No. that is not the case at all. But no, I once upon a time I would be play during the spring and summer, and be like kind of hitting the ball straight. This is back in the East Coast in Pennsylvania, and then the fall and winter would roll in, and then obviously you're not playing much at all during those times, and you're just kind of starting over, year over year. So you're starting over. But no, I do not play, but I do follow a little bit. Did not follow this particular Open, but Xander is a guy that I have for a number of years picked as my golfer. So I'm in a fantasy football league where we would set our order. So we'd all pick a golfer, and then our draft order would be based on how that golfer finishes in a particular tournament. And I've picked Xander for a good number of years because he's not gonna he might not win, but he's gonna get you finished pretty good. He's not gonna get cut the first day. He's always gonna have a solid outing. So I'm glad to see him win one.
Hey, I think for me, like, anytime, like for Xander, anytime you could shoot anything under 65, you're having a hell of a day. And just pure dominance on how he finished in the back 9, which is absolutely impressive. I just think that we're never going to see like another dominating type of golfer again like Tiger Woods. But I do think what is good is the parity in golf, because I think it makes it that much more exciting. I think it makes it just you get a little bit more enthusiastic about watching the game. Scheffler, I can't. I always say Scheffler every single damn time.
Oh, Drew,
I'm just going to say Xander.
He texted me on Sunday that Scotty Scheffler had won. I'm like, no.
I do it all the time because I think it's the SC.
I mean, to be fair, they both start with SCH.
Yeah, it just
SCH. So
yeah, it just
say Xander. How about that? He's the only golfer named Xander. So just go with Xander.
Sounds like a space
name. Just call him X, bro. Just call him X.
There we go. X. Xander sounds like a space alien name. Xander, come here, Xander. But no, I think it's. But Ben, I'll ask you before we wrap this up. Like, how does that go into the next tournament, the next couple tournaments? Do we think that this is going to be a level of play that sustains itself, or do we think that maybe this is? Go ahead.
I'll kind of go more big picture, like long-term wise. He's 30 years old, got 2 majors. I think it's safe to say to put a number at like 5, I would say. I wouldn't go further than that because Rory got 4 and everybody thought he would have 8 or 9 by now, and he's still stuck at 4. But with Xander, I believe, I'm not 100% on this, but he has like top 10s in majors, like 21 top 10s. Like he's always around. So I think it's safe to say to give him 3 more over the next 10 years or so. I don't think that's crazy. So I think he can end up with 5, and the list of golfers with 5 or more is very small. So if you get to 5, you've done a lot. So I think he could get to 5 because he also really, knock on wood, if you believe in that, he hasn't really been injured. He usually plays. So combination of his skill, now he has confidence that he can win a major because before this year he was the best to never win a major. Now he knows he can, and he has that mental confidence. So, yeah, I think 4 or 5 majors is completely reasonable.
No doubt. In 2026, the 3 of us will go to the Masters in 2026. Let's save our money and book it now. Book it now, gentlemen. All right, let's move on. Fantasy football. 3 lists of 3. We're going to do 1, 2, 3. We love golf, but golf is great. But I'm ready to get to some football. Sorry, golf fans.
Do it.
So we got the 3 that we're going to do is who will be the 3 best rookies, wide receivers in fantasy this season. 3 players you are avoiding this year. Well, can't wait to get to that one. And 3 running backs who will exceed expectations. But Drew, I'm going to toss it to you first. Your 3 best rookie wide receivers in fantasy football.
Well, to me, I don't think it's super complicated. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. will be in there. Just from a talent perspective, talent's off the roof, has the pedigree, all the things. He targets. I don't know who's going to take targets from him. Maybe was Tom. Sorry, not Todd. McBride. Tight end, maybe. But aside from that, it's going to be the Marvin Harrison show. Kyler's going to fling the ball around. He's going to look his little. Peek up and see the big dude down there running down the field throwing the ball. So him, Lake Neighbors, similar situation, just by himself. No one's going to take targets from him, just all the targets. And then also target monster, Lad McConkey is going to be my number 3, just because situation there in Los Angeles. Are they in Los Angeles? The Chargers, where there's no one else to throw the ball to. So those are my 3.
That's a good one. You took mine. That's actually going to be a good one. That's where fantasy football, gentlemen, gets really excited, right? I'm doing a 14-team defensive league, PPR, in a couple weeks. That's when you find out the juice of the juice, because those rookie wide receivers in those late rounds could make a difference. Ben, go ahead. Good stuff, Drew. Ben?
So I got similar, but a little bit different. I went a little outside the box. I could easily agree with those 3, and it could end up being that way. But I went with these 3. Marvin Harrison Jr. for sure. Not only is he going to get targets in fantasy football for your receivers, does your team suck? Or is your team projected to suck? And if it is, you're going to be throwing the ball significantly more than running the ball, which obviously is great for receivers. So either a bad team or a team with a bad defense, wide receivers benefit significantly, and Arizona's probably not going to be that good, and he's going to get plenty of looks.
Quick question.
Yep.
Do you draft Marvin Harrison within one of your first 3 picks? Both of you. Do you draft Marvin Harrison? Do you consider drafting Marvin Harrison, a rookie, with one of your first 3, say within the first or second round? Do you draft him if he's there?
I'd say I think second round is completely fine with me.
Okay. Drew?
I'm not opposed to him. Maybe in the 3rd. I feel like there's probably going to be guys that I just like more than him. I'm not opposed to it. I think it's definitely within the realm possibility that he finishes as a wide receiver 1, so as a top 12 wide receiver. It's certainly possible. Probably not something I'm going to necessarily hitch my wagon to. Probably going to be too rich for my blood, and if that's where he's going, he's probably not going to be he's on a couple of my dynasty teams. But probably won't be in a redraft if he's going top 3 picks.
It's going to be a very exciting draft for receivers. Where he is, I don't like where he lands. I don't know, but I'm glad he's going to be in Phoenix, so I got to get me a jersey of his for the Buckeyes. But anywho, Ben, you can finish your list, boss. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good, Doc. You're good. It's a relevant question, relevant topic. So I did put Xavier Worthy on my list, and part of that has to do with I think he's going to get TDs, man. And if he doesn't, I'm kind of screwed. But I think he's going to get those long touchdowns. Not that he's going to be Tyreek, but obviously they see him in that role. And I think that's a good possibility. He gets 10 plus touchdowns. And in fantasy, he could have 300 less receiving yards than somebody, but more fantasy points because of the touchdowns. So I went with Worthy, upside and just the deep play ability. And it's not just his speed. Like he's got every. I'm listening to guy on ESPN who I really like now. I've started to Harry Douglas Jr. played receiver, really really good analyst, and I've been listening to him. And he's basically like he doesn't have weakness. He can run any route. So Worthy, and then my third was Brian Thomas Jr. on the Jaguars because Calvin Ridley's gone. Christian Kirk is hurt a lot, and Trevor Lawrence is a pretty damn good quarterback, and they might be a little bit more towards passing it, even though they have ETN, because sometimes teams get influenced by the contract and try and justify the contract. She just got a big contract, so they might pass the ball a little bit more. Combination of all those Ridley targets gone and Kirk being hurt and that, so I got Brian Thomas Jr. there. And they're going to score a lot of points, too. I mean, that's going to be a really good offense.
Xavier Worthy is such a very intriguing player because of his speed. I get nervous about players who just are primarily deep route type players because there could be some games where you can have 2 receptions for 130 yards and 2 touchdowns. Yeah, that's a great day. Then there could be some games where he has 2 receptions for 30 yards and no touchdowns. And you're like, WTF. He's a very hard player to really guess and see how he's going to do. I think 3 players from my list here. First one is going to be Malik Neighbors. For one, who the hell else is an exciting player coming out of the Giants offense? There's nobody. I mean, they're going to find ways to get him in short and medium passes because Daniel Jones is not going to be dropping 30-yard bombs. So they're going to have to figure out ways to get that done. I think for me, man, Keon Coleman is a very interesting player for the Bills because he is expected to produce wide receiver 1 numbers with all the players that they miss. He has a great route tree. He runs anywhere between 6 to 7 routes that are just absolutely flawless. He's a decent build, and I think that he is going to be a steal for anyone that can get him in the 6th or maybe 7th round. He's definitely a guy that I will be targeting. Ben, you're going to forget that I said that in our DTS league, but he's definitely going to be one. And then I think another player that I'm really, really, really liking is Roma Dunze because I think that he's going to take some time. He's more of a second half type of guy because Keenan Allen, I don't think is going to be able to replicate the type of productivity that he had last year because he was actually healthy. I don't see that happening this year. And I mean, man, you look at what's his face? I can't remember his name. Homeboy, the other receiver. Moore.
Allen and the Bears.
I think Odunze has a high.
I know who you're thinking of. They're number 1 last year. Did really well.
DJ Moore.
Was it? DJ Moore. Yes.
Yeah, yes. DJ Moore. So I think there's going to, like you said, they're going to be a terrible team. Well, not terrible, but I still think they're going to be behind a lot, and I think they're going to be covering. He's going to get a lot of single coverage. So I think that's going to be good for him. All right, let's go to the next one. Ben, I'll toss it to you. Is 3 players you are avoiding this year, and then Drew, we will get you into this one. This one will be controversial, violent, and fun all at the same time.
So I'll go number 1 is Saquon Barkley, and here's the 2 reasons. 1, he's clearly never had a running quarter. Well, Daniel Jones is actually pretty athletic, but they give it to Hurts a lot on the goal line. They give it to Hurts a lot in short yardage. And so the fact that he's got Jalen Hurts, who's going to get plenty of touches, and the fact that Saquon has a very long and lengthy injury history, and to be completely honest, the offensive line is still great, but we don't know how great it's going to be because Kelsey was amazing and he's gone. So even though the old line is still going to be very, very good and they have a lot of talent on offense, his injury history and his, the fact that Hurts is going to see plenty of touches. Just using Fantasy Pros, his ADP right now, hold on, I just had it. His ADP right now is 21. I'm not touching him that early. There's no, I ain't doing it. So Saquon will be one. Kind of took the easy route with my second guy, Deebo Samuel. He gets hurt, man. It's like you can count on him missing 3 games or more like every year. It happens all the time. And what happens to you if that happens in the fantasy playoffs? And or if he gets hurt in the middle of the season and you're trying to trade him, nobody wants him, or like it's like if you have him, you don't really want to keep him all year. You want to try and trade him before he gets hurt. So like, yeah, Deebo's on my list on that one. And then I went with another receiver, George Pickens. And here's the reason for that. For me, the offense is still going to be shaky to me, even whether it's Fields, Russell Wilson, whoever it is. I don't trust that offense, period. And as great as the Steelers' defense is, and how the Steelers have been for, since the 70s and 80s with pounding the ball and how much they want to get their run game going, I know Pickens is going to be popular to like be a breakout because Deontay Johnson went to Carolina. I don't know. And I know he has the talent. I know he had plenty of big games last year and big plays, but for me, I just think he's not going to live up to the expectations. I think the expectations are too high. So those were my 3.
Okay, real quick, Drew, before I get to you, Drew, Ben, who were your 3 players again? Who's that first player? Because I had a question, then I completely blanked.
Saquon,
and who's the other one?
Deebo and George Pickens.
Okay, Deebo. Have you guys watched Receiver?
No, but I want to. I haven't yet, but
okay.
I'm planning on it.
When you watch, okay, and I really feel like I'm the minority on this. I lost a lot of respect for Deebo Samuel watching this game. And I gained a lot of respect for Devontae Adams because Devontae Adams had several really bad injuries that he could have just quit, but he didn't, and he fought through it. There were several instances when you watch with Deebo Samuel where he had a couple nicks, and I just feel like he found ways to not try to gut it out. And you could see the look on some of the players' faces and like, really, dude? I really question his love and his heart for the game because I don't really think he's a fighter. That's just how I feel. But when you guys watch it, you guys give me your opinions and you let me know. That's all I'm gonna say on that. I'm avoiding Deebo at all costs. But Mr. Hill, you're 3.
My 3 is so number 1 is going to be Kyren Williams, running back for the Rams. I know he had a really good, couple of seasons, and he's, but I feel like he's had some injuries that he's dealt with: high ankle sprain, foot injury, recurring, foot injury, and they drafted Blake Corum, who is a better Kyren Williams, so draft capital and things like that. So Kyren Williams still, I see him out there as one of the top 5, definitely top 10 running backs going off. That's an absolute no to not doing that. I'll take Blake Corum 10 rounds later. I have Kittle. I feel like I do this every year with Kittle, and I'm just like, he'll have these massive games, right? He'll have these massive, 3 touchdown games, and then he'll have games where he does absolutely nothing, and they have him just blocking the whole game. And I'm kind of done with that. If I'm doing like a best ball draft or something like that, where it's just kind of like I'll just take him as I get him, but I just don't want to put Kittle in my lineup. I don't want to deal with that week over week. And then last one is not really actual player, but my personal philosophy is I try to avoid players on bad offenses. Not necessarily bad teams, because bad teams you can still get those garbage things, but I want my players. So it's all about targets and touches. So I want my guys to be able to get targets and touches. The way you get the most targets and touches, you got to be on the field. So you got to be an offense that can move the ball up and down the field. You got to be able to get in the red zone, to be able to score touchdowns. So Not a single player, but I always go through and I'm just removing just players, especially if it's if I have to decide one way or another, I'm going to take the player that's on the better offense 9 times out of 10.
Okay. All right. I like him. Especially that last one. So, I know we said we might get a little violent, and I'm going to choose that today, gentlemen, because there was a player that I really like, Ben, and I was really high on him. He came out of Pitt, led the league in receptions, and then he went to USC, had a lot of really good numbers because he had Caleb Williams thrown to him. But I also thought he might have been a little bit overrated, but I wanted to give him a chance. And the first was going to be Jordan Addison, right? And the reason why I say that is because his numbers last year were grossly inflated just from like a touchdown luck. He was 15th in end zone targets last year, and then he ran hot with like the 4th most receiving touchdowns among wide receivers. And the only ones that he was behind were Mike Evans, Tyreek Hill, and CeeDee Lamb. So if you're looking at those numbers last year, and you also have to remember that Kirk Cousins threw to him, there's still a lot of questions behind J.J. McCarthy, who played for that terrible university from the team up north. They're absolutely trash. Michigan, I said it. Tigney, you heard what I said. They're nasty. Yeah, let's go Buckeyes. I'm just saying, the man's numbers are highly inflated, and I think that based on his draft position, I think he's more of a later round type of guy where he's more of a flex option. I wouldn't feel good having him as my number 2 in a standard PPR 10-team league. And the second one I'm going to go is DJ Moore, because there's a lot of mouths to feed. And I really like Caleb Williams, but we know the growing pains of rookie quarterbacks, and he's still unproven. So until I see it, I'm not necessarily ready to jump on the DJ Moore bandwagon. He's a player that if he's there in the 8th or 9th round, I would be okay. But again, with Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, Roma Dunze, you still got Cole Kmet, and then you got DeAndre Swift in the backfield too. So that's a lot of mouths to feed. And then the last one I'm going to go with is T. Higgins. Like, T. Higgins has a lot of hype, very talented, but he cannot stay healthy. And with the contract situation, this is his last year. I don't know about Joe Burrow's wrist and how healthy he's going to be. So having him as a wide receiver 2 when there's questions about the quarterback health, I'm not feeling that. Again, if he's my wide receiver 3 or if he's my flex guy, I'd feel okay, but I would not be feeling good about having him as my top 2. And I know we said 3, but I'm going to go one more. We okay? And then you guys can do one more.
Yeah. And just to add on to your Addison point, Jefferson missed like 7 or 8 games. So, the downgrading QB play and the fact that Jefferson missed all those games, and that's part of the reason his stats. So, yeah, I like the Addison pick.
But again, J.J. McCarthy could ball out. We just don't know. Like, he's not trash. We just don't know. We'll see. We will see. He doesn't play for Michigan anymore, so I can root for him. And I'm just going to go Josh Jacobs. I just had to do it. Josh Jacobs, because he plays for a crappy team called the Raiders, so I don't even know why anyone would even want to play for them, but we'll see. One more, guys. Drew, and then Ben.
He's in Green Bay now. Josh Jacobs is in Green Bay now.
He's on Green Bay now.
Oh, my bad. I feel stupid. See, Drew, I have these moments sometimes. I'm sorry.
All right. We'll circle back to that point in a minute. But
they swapped out Aaron Jones for Jacobs, pretty much.
Okay, there we go.
Pretty much.
So mine will be Jalen Hurts, and reason being, Kellen Moore is coming to town, and one or two things is going to have to happen. Either Kellen Moore is going to change the entire way that he's learned offense his entire life. Or Jalen Hurts could have some. Jalen Hurts is a one-read quarterback, and being in a offense with Kellen Moore, who likes to run a lot of option routes and things like that. And that's kind of where that last year in Dallas, where things got kind of weird because the wide receivers are kind of doing whatever they want. I don't know that Jalen Hurts, from a mental processing perspective, he hasn't shown it yet. Not saying he's a dumb person, but he hasn't been in an offense that's required him to do a lot of reading of the field and being on the same page with receivers. So I'm curious to see what that offense looks like. Obviously, you take, Kellen Moore just coming from the Chargers, where they had all these players, but their offense just couldn't click. So I don't know what that's going to look like in Philly. And plus adding a Saquon Barkley, who, it would make sense to hand him the ball a lot. So I'm going to avoid Jalen Hurts there in Philly.
Okay. Eagles are very tricky. The Eagles are very Ben, like these Eagles are very, very tough to gauge going into next year because we're like, there's one, Jalen Hurts, was it really because of the injuries why he didn't play up to his potential? Or did did the league catch up to him? And then two, did people figure out this offense now they have Saquon Barkley? Like they imploded last year. Imploded. So Sirianni, he's got some questions. Really big questions. But Ben, one more, and then we will go to 3 running backs who will exceed expectations.
No, I'm good on the avoid. I'm good. I'm good to move to the running back.
Then we're gonna do.
We've both gone first, so you go first.
As far as 3, you're too kind. God, Ben, you're such a pal. Second, no. Running backs. This one was a. Are we talking about do we want to go rookie? Do we want to just go we're probably not going to go the rookie route, but we're just looking at 3 players.
Running backs who will exceed expectations.
3 running backs who I think are going to exceed expectations.
Mm-hmm.
I think Ramondre Stevenson.
Okay.
And I know that there's a lot of questions about him, but I think that his ability to be able to catch out the backfield just a little bit. I like running backs now that can catch out the backfield. I think he's a very strong semi-power back, and I think that he was underutilized just a tad last year. So now with the new coach, a little bit of rejuvenated energy, I think he's going to be pretty solid. And I think another running back who's going to exceed Austin Eckler. I think Austin Eckler, again, based on where you draft him, I think he's going to exceed expectations. I think he's not going to be – I do not think he's going to be an all-purpose 1,500-yard type of running back like he was 7 years ago. But I think because they don't want to put too much pressure on the rookie quarterback, and I think that the other running back, I think Brian Thomas is the running back that he would have to compete with. I just think is it Brian Thomas?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're talking about running backs who will exceed expectations. So I'm gonna go Austin Eckler, and then I think really the last one, I really was kind of tossing back and forth about this one. I'm gonna go Rachaad White. I like him. I still believe he could be Brian Robinson. Okay. I still think he could be a viable running back. But again, the barometer for me is based on where you draft him. I think he can give you decent RB2 numbers in the 7th round. For me, when I'm thinking about drafting, I'm thinking of my first 3 picks, got to go with wide receiver, get a good solid running back, and then go another receiver, and then punt running back later in the rounds. I think guys like Austin Eckler or the other 2 guys that I named, you feel okay if he's your RB2. Definitely. So, Drew, you go, and then Ben, take it away. And I know, Ben, you got some – I want to save the best for last because I know you got some good ones. Drew, go ahead.
I'm going to go first, Devin Singletary.
Oh, okay.
Giants. He's just quietly been consistently 1,000-yard rusher. Now he's back with Brian Daboll, who we had his best years with in Buffalo. So with the Giants, and again in that backfield, Saquon leaves. There's really no one on that roster who has carried the ball in the NFL. So like Devin Singletary, kind of outperform. I like Joe Mixon. I've been on consistent Joe Mixon train, and he's, I always want more from him because I feel like he can be a 3-down running back, and sometimes he doesn't always deliver from a receiving standpoint. But he's had good years. Now he goes to the Texans, and that really, really, really good offense with the their Slowick, I think, is the
Bobby Slowick. Yep.
Who comes to that Shanahan tree, and they always seem to be able to get running backs going. So you take Joe Mixon and his skill set with that offense and the receivers and things they have. I really like Joe Mixon. And then I'm gonna go your Broncos guy, Aldrick Estime, as a rookie, where they're trying to sort that out. It looks like Javonte Williams, between him and what's my guy's name, who's just always lingering around.
Damn, dude that played for the Bengals.
He's always there. But he's just a guy. He has a couple of good games, but they're looking at, what I've read is kind of looking at those 2 as possible, surprise roster cut. And so I like Estime to have an opportunity there. He's, in the kind of new regime, he's their draft pick. So I feel like he'll have an opportunity. So I'll take a couple flyers on him.
Okay. It's crazy.
He was all at Notre Dame. I like him.
Hey, there you go. Javonte Williams, like I had my bachelor party in Denver 2 years ago, and we had seen the 49ers, and I bought a Javonte Williams jersey because 33, I'm obsessed with the number 3, and I was like, oh, I like this. If he gets cut, I'm going to have to buy another jersey. I really don't want to do that, but we'll see. Ben, all good choices, Drew. Ben, your thoughts. And shout out to you for shouting out my Broncos, by the way. Ben, come on, step your game up.
So I went with the big names. I like what you guys did, but I went Mixon definitely was on my list. Joe Mixon, he's RB13 right now according to Fantasy Pros, and I think he's going to be in the top 10. I mean, he's in a great offense. They're going to score a lot of points. He's not going to see 8-man boxes. I mean, with the wide receiver talent they have with CJ Stroud, like he's going to get plenty of looks, and they're going to score a lot of touchdowns, and they're going to look to him in the red zone. So I think Mixon has a really good chance to finish top 10. I held back on saying it and now I'm kind of swayed by what he said, but I'm going to stick with Kyren Williams. He's RB8 right now. And I think that for me personally, Corum, I had not taken into consideration, but Kyren Williams, I think, has the ability and the talent to be in the top 3 in fantasy. I'm not, Corum, again, I did not realize or remember that he was there, but I think Kyren Williams is that good. And if Kupp is healthier and Kupp and Nakua stay healthy, same thing. Like he's not going to face those big boxes. So I'll go Kyren. And even if Corum gets plenty of looks, I think Kyren is the bigger back and the one they would utilize more so in the red zone. So I'm going to stick with that. And then I actually went A-Chain in Miami. And for me, that has to do with their offensive line. I think it's projected to be a little bit better. Their defense is going to be worse because of the amount of people that they lost. So they're going to need to score more. And, that offense, he's a Kyle Shanahan disciple, and they run plenty. And he's going to get plenty of looks. There's injury concerns, of course, but with that offense, another one where I guess my consistency is those guys are on great offenses. They're not going to see those 8-man boxes. It's not going to happen. They're going to see a lot of 4, So I think opportunity-wise, I'm with those 3. So Kyren Williams, Mixon, and Devon A-Chain.
Okay, Devon A-Chain he's a very interesting player. Like it's like he had like those 3 or 4 really good games. He had that game where he just completely obliterated my Broncos when they scored like, what was it, 70
points, I think.
Was it 70 points?
I think it was 70. Yeah, it was a 70.
It
was a 70 spot. Yeah,
that was embarrassing. That was really embarrassing, but we don't need to talk about that anymore. But Devon A-Chain, he's very interesting. All right, let's keep this thing moving. Let's bring up a sports topic here. I'll do one, Ben, and then Drew, you can do one. I want to bring up the semi-results of the Los Angeles Dodgers. Let's put a perfect scenario here. Mm-hmm. It's the end of the season. They win the division because that's what they do, and that's all they ever do. Yamamoto doesn't come back from his injury, which I don't think is going to happen. And they don't even make it out the first round. What moves do you make? Or how much of a colossal failure would it be that they don't win the World Series? Because I don't think it's going to happen. Ben and Drew.
It would be a big failure despite the injuries. The amount of talent that they have on that team and the amount of money that they spent. I know there's injuries and injury concerns, but they went all in. I mean, they spent over $1 billion on these dudes in the offseason, which obviously you have the money to spend it. But, they've won 1 championship in this 14-year run of winning the division 13 times. Cool. And they got 1 championship. So that in itself adds more pressure because you've been this good for this long and you got 1 championship. It's almost the exact as the Atlanta Braves when they had their run. It's pretty much the same, although it's not consecutive. And 14 years was the Braves, so I think it's 10 out of the last 11, but close enough. The comparison works. So that, along with the amount of money they spent and the fact that they failed to live up to expectations in the past, I think that, unless, they get even more injuries or some of these dudes don't come back. But either way, if you got Ohtani and Mookie Betts, I mean, you got two of the best 3 players in the world. Like, I don't know. There's nobody else that can say that. So it's almost like, yeah, of course you need pitchers, you need pitching, but you got two of the best 3 players in the entire league. You should be all right for the most part. So I think it would be a big failure if they don't win it all.
10 years, 700 million. That's all I'm gonna say. Drew, your thoughts?
Yeah, colossal disappointment. You know, baseball is pretty unique versus some of the other major sports in that you literally can, if you choose to, you can buy all the players. And that, you know, baseball is also an interesting sport in just how the games are played, where sometimes, you know, a team is, you know, a little hot. Sometimes the bats go cold. What you can do to kind of work around, you know, some really good players. You can really, I mean, you could honestly decide if you want to, like, your best player is not going to get a chance to beat us. You know, we're just going to we're going to cuddle out, we're going to put them on base. Not always the best strategy, but you can do that. And so when you can do those kinds of things, it kind of has the ability to neutralize, you know, talented players at kind of level playing field. So it is anytime you are going quote unquote all in, and everybody knows, and that's kind of the pressure that comes in. Everybody knows, like, you have all the best players. So whether you are playing a pickup, you walk on the court in a pickup basketball game, or you are whatever, if you look around and like, oh yeah, we have the best dudes, there's no way we should lose. Well, then that pressure starts. You know, you get down a run, you get down 2 runs, you know, or something's happening, or maybe your first pitch, you know, maybe you're going through and the random things that are happening, right? So that where a ball would normally drop, it's not dropping. Those little flute plays, the errors. So it's definitely I don't know where you go from there. I feel like it's typically a situation where, you know, from a winning standpoint of, okay, well, we're just going to spend more money next year. But once you get to the point where you spent all the money, you can, I mean, not all, but you have all the players. You can't, I mean, you can get more players, but obviously that's not the winning thing. It can just be a luck thing. You know, we mentioned the Braves. You know, I'm a Braves fan, and you know, that's the infuriating thing about baseball is you just kind of like sit there and watch, and you're like, how are they losing? They're like last year. I'm just like, like the season ended, and it's just like, no, there has to be another game. There has to be another game somewhere. So yeah, it's tough. I don't know what the Dodgers do from there. I feel like teams go through this where you just, no matter how much you spend, the Yankees have gone through it. No matter how much you spend, you can't get over the hump. So we'll see.
Yeah, I just don't think
it's a slight surprise that Robert still has his job, to be honest.
I mean, after last year, that's what I'm saying. I mean, if you're putting my thing is, you know, gentlemen, is that if you knew that you have a lot riding on this season, I think a changing of voice is needed, because you wonder, have they kind of tuned him out? You got to ask yourself that question. And that championship, I mean, I don't think it's equivalent as the bubble championship, because I think that, like, there were games that literally were being canceled and it didn't start until July. And I get they all played on the same level playing field, but I don't know. I kind of question that COVID one just a tad, but it is what it is. This team is very top heavy, and you could have taken that $700 million and kind of paid a couple other pieces and really build a whole entire team around. But I get Ohtani, but I think they're going to have to look at maybe not necessarily tearing it down, but if they fail, they're not going to be able to just throw more money at the problem and just think, okay, that's going to be fixed. Like they have to do something. But I don't know. All right, let's get to the next topic. Ben, what is your topic? And then we'll get you and Drew.
So Alabama football, first year without Saban. It's been a lot of talk, a lot of, you know, listened to a lot in the last couple of weeks, and I'm going to keep it simple, and you guys can make it complex. But for me, just 2 questions. One, are they going to make the playoffs? And there's 12 teams, remember, obviously now. And 2, are they going to win a game in the playoffs?
Drew, I'll let you throw it to you, sir.
Yes, Alabama will make the playoff. I feel like they're still, I mean, they still have a really good coach. And the players, they haven't had a mass exodus of players. Recruiting's been fine. So yes, they will make the playoffs, especially with it being expanded. If it wasn't expanded, I do not think they'd make the playoffs. But they will make the playoffs. Will they win a championship? I do not believe so. I think that I think part of the reason, a Saban, some of the Sabans and some of the other coaches getting out of coaching is the game has changed, right? You can't just say, "Hey, we're Alabama, so you need to come here. We can unofficially or officially pay you or another," even if they say they don't. It's with the NIL deals, the field is leveled. These kids are not playing around; they're not hanging out, sitting for 3 years when they can go somewhere else, play, get paid, and also have a chance at the league. The mystique is gone. They're not the big bullies on the block anymore. You can't just chalk it up as a win for Alabama. So I think the mystique is gone for now. They've bled. You can see they're still Alabama, but they've bled, so people can see. Oh no, they have bled. They are beatable. So yes, I think ultimately the program will be fine. I think recruiting will not be an issue for them. I think they will continue to win. I believe the SEC is no longer theirs. But yes, they will make the playoffs, but they will not win a championship.
Okay. Yeah. To me, it comes down to one, how many teams from the SEC are going to be able to get in, right? I really think that's like the first question that you have to be able to ask yourself. And when I was really thinking about it, like my rankings before them is like Georgia, I got Georgia, and I got Texas, and then Ole Miss, I think, is a little bit better than them this year. And then you got Alabama. I mean, you could switch the two between Ole Miss and as well as Alabama. But my concern is with the offensive line. The offensive line is going to need to improve. They gave up a record 49 sacks last year, and that's just absolutely atrocious. You're not going to be able to sustain a level of offense that way. I do think their defensive line is probably one of the best in the country. The quarterback whose name I cannot remember is coming back, but there's still questions.
Milroe.
He's a runner first, thrower second. So defenses know that. So they're going to put them in. So these coordinators are going to put him in situations where it's third and long, where he's not going to be able to run. He's going to have to throw a 15-yard, 20-yard pass. Can he do that? So I think that the standard that Saban has been so high that, they're probably going to lose 2 or 3 games. And I think that the threshold for the number of losses that they can have going into the season for them to be able to make it and an at-large berth is 2 games. But I really think this team with Oklahoma and Texas being the SEC this year and the level of competition with Ole Miss has gotten better. I mean, they're going to be preseason top 10. Georgia, I thought, was the best team last year despite losing to Alabama. If they had played Michigan, they probably were going to blow them out. So I look at all of that. I look at the collection of talent in the SEC. I look at the fact that even state teams like Mississippi State or even Vanderbilt, they still have second-day draft talent on that roster, which is good enough to beat an Alabama on any given day. I really think this team is going to lose 3 to 4 games. That's just what I think. They're going to be close. I don't know. We'll see. Ben?
So in the playoffs or not? Didn't answer the question.
I'm going to say they're going to be on the outside looking in this year just because of the competition, the SEC, and adding Texas and Oklahoma. I just think that's a gauntlet.
I like it. I can respect it.
All right. Sorry for the tangent there. But Drew, your topic?
My topic is going to be the WNBA. And now who do you think it's going to be? My question is kind of where do they – obviously they have a lot of momentum, right, with the rookie class that's come in with people who shall not be named. But, they got their – they broke off. They got their money. They have a lot of momentum. I feel like just the women's game as a whole, the college. I actually watched, the college Final Four for the women. I watched maybe 5 minutes of the men's. There's no intrigue, nothing interesting on the men's side. So for the WNBA, obviously you've had the players who have come in, who have helped and boosted. You have things. Where do you go from here? How do you improve going from this year to next year? Obviously, there are some very exciting women coming up in the college game, and even seeing some 12-year-olds who look really good out there, right, in the women's game. So, but as a league, what do you do? Where do you go? How do you improve? What is your next step? If you're the commissioner of WNBA, what do you do going forward?
Ben, may I start with this one, sir?
Have at it.
Okay, here's what I'm going to say. The commissioner was talking about expanding the league from 40 games to 44. If they're going to do that, they need to add 3 to 5 teams within the next year or two, because the issue is that these teams like Mercury last season, or Mercury played the Aces, their first 6 games or 7 games, 3 of them were against the Aces, right? So you've already had Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese play each other 3 times this year. You're starting to get to a situation where you have an oversaturation of the same matchups within a very short period of time. Is that Luca? Or is that daughter?
That's Rayla. That's the girl.
Oh, Rayla. I don't think we
Boys
met. I met Luca. I met him. He's playing. He's going to be a little messy one day. But I just think that, like, in order for them to grow, they're going to have to get more teams. They're going to have to expand in more markets. They're probably going to have a team in Florida. I don't understand how you do not have a team in Florida. You're going to need to be very strategic as far as where you're going to place these teams. So if you're going to have 44 games or even more, you can't have the same teams play each other within a very short period of time. That's where they need to go. And then secondly, they have to do market research and probably follow the model of the MLS as far as the amount of money that they've invested in the local communities to build up those relationships. So if they're going to do that, they're going to have to do the, what do they call, the retail politics, right? Where you're going to have to go and you're going to have to meet with local officials to kind of drum up additional support in whatever potential cities that you need to go, right? So they need to think strategically 3 to 5 years. That's where they need to go. Because right now, expanding to 44, going too late into the NFL season, I think is a death row for them, my opinion. Ben?
Yeah, I love that answer. Mine was much more simple. It just better at marketing. And your answer was extremely in depth, and I like it a lot. So, but my answer was more just focus more on marketing, and that you're marketing the sport right now, and it's doing well. But that if you want to grow anything, you got to build up the marketing, build up the interest. So for me, it's improving upon the marketing. So
facts. I mean, dog, like all these talented players, like you're looking at the number of talented players, and not all of them are making rosters because women are not retired. Like you got to think, like these players are not retiring; they're playing later into their 30s. So there's a lot of talented players coming out, and there's no reason why someone who was drafted 17th overall gets cut. I don't know how many leagues where there's a first rounder that gets cut. I don't know. Football, NBA, your 17th overall pick, you're probably going to be a rotation player, or
they're just not going to cut them loose. Also because of the financial investment as well. It's like, hey, we're going to give you every opportunity to make this team. Out of pride, we're not going to cut you. But yeah, I think those are all great points. And they said the marketing. I'm phony. I don't know when the seaon is. It's like it just happens, and I'm just like, next thing you know, there's college, and then there's the draft, and the next thing you know, it's like, so and so just won the championship. I was like, when was the season? I completely missed it. So they definitely need to do a better job of just outreach awareness, and they everything is so condensed. I know they're trying to avoid the major sports, but I don't know. Is that the best route? Or are they at a point where they can kind of give us a little breather between we've drafted and then the season's starting a week later? Can they? I don't know.
It's tough because the WNBA is in a very short window. Like the summer is the most perfect ideal time, and it's like, I mean, damn, the NCAA starts, and they need to do something about the rookies, man. Like the rookies play in the NCAA tournament, then they have the draft, then they have camp, which is really not camp at all. So they don't have much time to orient themselves within the flow of the offense. It's just, it's a tough deal.
Could the draft? I mean, this is just crazy talk, but is there a realm of possibility where the draft could be like how they do their league year, where the draft could be like after the season? So like if you are finishing in your the NCAA, like you're not getting drafted to play in this immediate season, right? So Caitlin Clark and Andrew Reese, they wouldn't be playing now. They'd be drafted in the fall to play on a team next season. Does that make sense?
Yeah, they could do that, but then they're not playing at all unless they go overseas or something and then come back. It's just
the money too. Yeah,
yeah. I like the idea. It's just the logistics of it.
Yeah,
that's all. Sure. Yeah, no doubt. Ben, just for the sake of time and because I have dinner plans, we're just going to go straight to Ben Gets Loud. Sound good to you? Or do you want to get to
I was gonna
go for it?
really quick storylines. Really quick.
Go for it.
NFL storylines. Like top three, super quick. Buffalo Bills without Diggs. On top of that, Texans with Diggs and with Mixon. Higher expectations. They didn't have these expectations. So Bills without Diggs, Texans with heightened expectations, and the Eagles. What are you going to be? Who are you? Are you the team that wet the bed? Are you the team that was really close to winning the Super Bowl? What are you? So those three.
Real quick on the Texans, and then Drew, you can jump in. Like where are they going to go to? Because they were the hunters. Now they're the hunted.
Mm-hmm.
So
exactly.
Yeah.
How does Stephon Diggs? I feel like I don't think they should have traded for Stephon Diggs. I think he's like a poison that he's already been traded twice in his prime. Yeah. So I don't know.
They shouldn't have done what they, in my opinion, they shouldn't have done what they did with the contract. They changed it where he's on just. I'm pretty sure he's just playing this year. That's it.
Okay.
They changed his contract. It's only guaranteed he's on their team this year.
Okay.
I like the coach and the quarterback, so I think they're built for whatever is going to come at them. My storylines is whatever's going on in Dallas. Are they paying the Dak? Are they not? I don't know what they're doing. And then no, quiet, please. 2 minutes. Okay, 2 minutes. And the musical backfields. So Derrick Henry, Tony Pollard, Saquon Barkley, Joe Mixon, Singletary, Eckler, Zach Moss, Jacobs, Swift, Aaron Jones, all new teams. So what's going on with the running back position? Is it really done? Is it over? What's happening in new spots? So that's my storyline I'm looking at, all these running backs in new places, and where does the position go from here? Obviously, you're not getting paid anymore, so we'll see what happens.
Tony Pollard, man, like I really feel bad for Tony Pollard. I mean, he had an excellent year 2022, 2023 was down. Now he's going to a horrific offense in in Tennessee. I don't know, but what Dallas is doing, I just don't understand it. I don't.
I'll be frank with it. They're not paying Dak. Now watch them pay Dak tomorrow because
because you said that.
Like
they're a media team masquerading as a football team.
Like,
what are they going to do?
You're saying all the right things, that you love Dak, that you want to respect. You respect him. This, that. He doesn't have a contract. I think they've already decided in their head they're not paying him. And for me, I'm fine with that. He hasn't done anything in the playoffs. So if you're not going to do that, then pay CD and pay Micah.
You just have to accept you're not going to be good. And as much as it's like as much as people hate on Dak, he is a top quarterback in the league. And most teams would be very happy to have him. And if you don't play around with him, if you're going to move on, then move on. If you want to say, hey, we're just going to rock out with whatever the kid is who's never thrown a football from Nevada.
Trey Lance.
Trey Lance. If you want to rock out with Trey Lance, just do it. Just rip the Band-Aid off, send Dak on his way, and go through the pains and be a bad football team. That's the problem. They don't want to just suck. They're always going to be mid-level. We're going to be 8-8. We're going to be 10 and whatever. We're not going to do what we need to do, get over the hump, and they'll never get better because they're never going to draft in the top 5 again.
Yeah, I don't know, man. That's just such a kerfluffle. I like to use that kerfluffle because it's just you. What are you going to do? I don't know.
Jerry Jones doesn't care. I don't care. So
the fans aren't stupid, but you can't say that you're trying to win, that you're about winning when you're not showing that you're willing to win by bringing back Mike McCarthy. I don't know. But all right, Ben, get loud, and then we'll conclude. And then Drew, you can give your shout out to your business ventures. Ben, real quick, you get loud.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go Tiger Woods, and I feel that people just let the man play. If he wants to play, let him play. He's done enough for the game. He's the reason he's a huge reason these purses are as high as they are. He's obviously won a lot. I know a lot of, and I don't know about you two, and don't take this the wrong way, but there's a lot of black people who didn't watch golf.
Facts.
Who watch golf because of Tiger Woods.
Mm-hmm.
So that is not only that, of course, he's had a huge impact, but there's that factor. There's a lot of golf fans, and sorry, I didn't mean don't take it the wrong way, but it's just reality. There's a lot of people that did not watch golf that watch golf because of him. So the calls for him to quit, or he was one of the worst place finishers in the Open. Why is he playing this and that? Let him play if he wants to play. And I said this to somebody, you take Scheffler, you take Schauffele, you take McIlroy, wherever these guys are, and you tell them you're playing 4 times a year, that's it. They're not going to win either. They'll probably do better than what Tiger's doing, but they're not going to win. All these players are playing in tournaments, all of them. Tiger has not played in any tournaments besides the majors. So I don't care how talented you are, you can't do that sustainably, sustain that and actually win those tournaments. It's just not possible. Any of the top 10 players, any player right now, you tell them you can practice for 12 months of the year, but you're only playing 4 times.
No.
They're not winning. They're not winning. It's just not realistic for him to, and that's those guys healthy. Tiger Woods has to wake up like 5 hours before he plays just to play. Like literally, the dude in the Masters who played with him in the last round said, "Yeah, Tiger texted me at like 2:30 in the morning. He was already up getting ready." Like the man goes through so much physical pain just to play, and if he wants to play, let him play. Like I can't stand anybody who says, I can't watch him now because he sucks now, or he should quit because let him do what he wants to do. If he wants to play, clearly wants to put his body through torture to play because he's playing. So let him play until he can't play or until he doesn't want to play. But for the near term and for the long term, hopefully, let the man play if he wants to play. That's it.
Facts. I'm just gonna leave it at that. Drew, any thoughts? And then I'll let you give a shout out to your real league.
Like you said, he's one of those people who, if he wants to show up, he shows up. Like LeBron James, you want to play your kid, you want to get your daughter in the league, whatever you want to do, have at it. Some of these people I think transcend the game and have, like I said, they owe him, for his contribution. So I agree. But lastly, thank you guys for having me. Again, my name is Drew Hill the Realtor. I'll just put my handle down there, obviously on this podcast stuff, because that should have been up there. But I always stand on business on anything, opinion I have. So if you want to, anyone feel free to reach out. I'm a real estate broker in Seattle. If anyone wants to buy any property, sell anywhere on this God's green earth, feel free to reach out to me. But again, thank you, Jeff. Thank you for having me. Stop dodging the smoke. So thanks for having me. I appreciate it. And I hope to get on with you again sometime. And
No doubt. Drew, appreciate you. I'm sure I'll be in Seattle sometime. When I do, I'll definitely hit you up. So appreciate you coming back. Tell Luca I said hello, even though he doesn't remember me, but very adorable. Little K about to be a little messy. And Real Madrid, man, they are about to run. They're about to run the table. It is ridiculous.
Yeah, turn this off. I don't want to talk about
it. Well, all right, folks. That is all for tonight. We appreciate it. We'll be back next week. Same time, same place. Peace out, and let's go Broncos.